All right, so here's another video where people are where we're responding to comments that were made in response to a video that I made. So in this one, let's what the whatever doesn't understand the wage gap is the video that I created, and in the first video, this guy clearly did not listen to the video that I made because he goes, "The wage gap is a myth. You Americans exported that myth to Western-oriented countries. It does not exist because it does not happen. If anyone facts you, get you 100% destroyed 100%. There's that argument that in a capitalist society, they would only hire women. The person who I responded to made that argument, and I responded to. Your kind of argument is that there are reasons beyond that. In that case, you would not hire women at all. No. There are people that do hire women because of certain reasons, and there are people who don't hire women because of reasons. It's not a black and white issue. That's the thing. Life isn't black and white. We have a situation in life where there's all sorts of shades of gray. There are decisions that people make in business, in life, in many sorts of reasons that are not the black and white that all of these conservative-minded folks want to make it out to be. It's not a simple yes, no, binary. Life is not binary. Gender's not binary. Life is not binary. It doesn't work like that. So just because the market works outside your beliefs, there's no way. The market doesn't work in like you believe either. The market is not as overly simplistic as y'all make it believe either. Y'all don't understand markets either. So then, I didn't know you could fit so much cope in the first 50 seconds of a video. LOL. And then, of course, my bad, the whole video. This might be the most brain dead video I've seen on YouTube. Well, clearly he hasn't been on enough of YouTube because there's plenty of brain dead stuff on YouTube. But, I mean, I don't think my posts were brain dead, but at least this individual is doing more than just, saying things and just running away. This person is at least trying to break down a few things just for giggles. The wage gap, as commonly quoted, is the gap between men and women median earnings. Well, sure. I mean, I didn't argue against that. I even think I made the point that in some areas, women do earn more than men in some situations, but the reason that happens is because there are certain jobs that are considered to be women's jobs because of patriarchal standards. No other factors were accounted for, and the people who did the study literally said that the study couldn't be used to prove discrimination because they didn't explore additional factors such as adjusting for the actual same job with same responsibilities, education level, experience level, total hours work, time off, blah, 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 blah. And fine, but those things, as the aggregate should still average out. But we still have it in a society where you have a situation where you've had men being shunted into these high-power jobs, and you have women being shunted into these lower-level jobs. So you at the end of the day, you're going to have men earning more money than women do. And we've seen situations. I've seen people in workplaces that have looked at the payroll and have seen people's salaries, and they are making, the women in those salaries or jobs are making less money. You had Lily Ledbetter versus Goodyear Tire, which you address later in the comments, where she proved that she was getting paid a discriminatory wage. So it happens. We know based on data that women are not likely to ask or fight for higher wages because they're generally less comfortable with direct confrontation. Now, is that why? Again, is it because they're not comfortable with direct confrontation? Or is it because that when women are bold or direct with how they ask for things, they are viewed as shrill or bossy or viewed in somehow as a negative? So they have to, in the corporate environment, walk this tightrope that requires them to behave in the perfect way. Don't be too aggressive because then you're seen as, not somebody who you can work with. But if you're not aggressive enough, then you're not seen as somebody who can cut it in the upper management level. So women are in the workplace have to walk this impossible tightrope that, is very difficult to walk. So maybe that's what you're saying. I don't know what data you're citing, but that I think a lot of the times when women are less likely to ask for or fight for those things. It's because they're concerned about how they're going to be viewed by management, because management holds these views that women are not supposed to be assertive, because women being assertive is still viewed as a negative thing, because only men are supposed to be assertive, because in a patriarchal run society, the men are assertive and the women are not. And that's something that we need to get rid of. We know that women on average work fewer hours than their male counterparts. Why? Well, you're probably going to bring up because pregnancy issues, maybe. Well, maybe if we stopped having a patriarchal society and we offered everybody, who if you're in a couple, if you're in a you're a heteronormative, cisgender couple, and your spouse is going to get off for parental leave, then both spouses should get off for parental leave and be able to take off, and both should have the same opportunities to be at home and take care of the kid and share in the responsibilities of taking care of the kid and taking care of the issues that need to be taken care of when, not just having to deal with, post labor, but even the time right before labor as well. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some, simp soy boy liberal or whatever. Men tend to call out less and take less sick and vacation time. I question where you're getting your data from. No idea where you're getting your data from about sick or vacation time. Like, if I'm sick, I take the day off. If I want to take I use my vacation time. When I get my vacation time, I take it. I make sure it's taken. While I believe maternity leave is certainly something companies factor into when hiring risk analysis, companies don't have to provide paid maternity leave as a benefit, but they should. But even when they do, they should also be providing paid paternity leave. They should be giving paid leave to all parents, regardless of if you actually have a birth. If you adopt a new child, you should also get paid leave for that too. But I know, and I'm a zany liberal for that one too, right? On the Goodyear tire case, nice reach all the way back to 2007, bro. I mean, I appreciate the fact that it's a nice reach, but it's a topic that is relevant to the conversation. It's a topic that shows that, this individual in the video went way back to 1963 to the law that supposedly banned discrimination based on sex or gender. So if he can go back to 63 for that reach, why can't I go back to 2007? So, and it just counters his point that, it's even though it's illegal to do wage discrimination, it still happens. See Ledbetter or whatever. We have previously declined to address whether Title VII suits are amenable to discovery rule because Ledbetter does not argue that such a rule would change the outcome of her case. We have no occasion to address this issue. Basically, the court said if Ledbetter could not have discovered this earlier, they would have held up her suit. Conservative activist court, my ass. It is a conservative activist court. Because read the Ginsburg dissent. You did not read the Ginsburg dissent. Go read the Ginsburg dissent. She handles that. Let's see. The Ledbetter Act has virtually done nothing and hasn't been useful since. That's why I've never heard of anything before you mentioned. Well, maybe the reason you haven't heard of it is because it is doing something. Maybe because it actually has the teeth that is now enables people to be able to get their employers for past wage discrimination when found way back in the day. Now maybe employers are more careful about, not paying a discriminatory wage. Maybe that's what the hell's going on with this. Why is this being stupid? I don't know why that keeps closing. That's so weird. Anyway, I'll have to edit that out, I suppose. About 10-minute mark. So again, it's like you saying it's the same argument that Roberts made in Shelby versus Holder. Well, we don't need this because we haven't seen problems, so therefore it can go away. It's like, we don't need the levees in New Orleans because the Mississippi River hasn't flooded the city. Well, the reason that the Mississippi River hasn't flooded the city is because we have the levees. Your logic is not really on par there, dude. It's you have some problems there. The last time I checked, women can choose their major when they go to college, just like everyone else, and in fact are rapidly outpacing men in college. Education also directly correlates with higher income. Okay, well, now women may be outpacing men in college, and maybe at some point in the future, we'll be seeing more equity and more equality in the workplace, but it doesn't mean it's solved now, right? So we still have issues now, and we're working on solving them, and maybe the fact that there are more women going into college and more women seeking degrees, maybe that's part of the solution that gets fixed. But we still have these issues now that are being dealt with now, that can be dealt with now, that aren't solved by that. Dan doesn't really seem to understand basic economics. Okay. Or the vast majority of jobs don't look for the best person for the jobs. They look for the best that they can get for the most reasonable price, just like the rest of the consumers when you go to the store. Only the labor market is the store. You generally believe that misogyny is still so deeply ingrained in our business culture that business owners, especially small ones, would actively pass up a 30% savings in employment costs just because they somehow think a man is better for the job. You're insane and there's no hope for you. No, because there are still people who will say no to a woman being hired if they could get away with it, because they don't want to have to deal with those other issues of having to deal with somebody who might go on maternity leave and having to replace that work. Even if they could get the 30% discount in wages, they still have to consider, oh, well, if this person's going to go out on maternity leave, well, then I have to find somebody who's going to do that work while they're on a maternity leave. And then what if they leave and want to stay home for a year or two or whatever? Because that's what goes through their heads. Because that's what we hear all the time from the people who make the excuses as to why businesses do that. All the apologists for businesses will say all of those things. And now you're saying this. So you can't have it both ways. So I'm just citing what the apologists for businesses say when businesses refuse to hire women because of maternity issues. That's all I'm citing here. I'm not giving my opinion. I'm giving the opinion of the people who are trying to be apologists for businesses that don't hire women, even if they can get women to do the work at 30% less pay. It's as simple as that. They put the requirements in the job description. If you're a woman and you say you can lift 50 pounds repeatedly, they're going to hire you. Maybe, if they believe you. Maybe they don't believe you. Male-dominated professions will actively hire underqualified women just to fill a quota. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what your data is on that. Even in female-dominated professions, this is the case. I was a housekeeper as one of my early jobs. I remember one of the reasons I was hired because of the owner of the business, Gina, thought it would be good to have a man around. I could naturally assume for any heavier lifting or reaching the tallest places. Sometimes men are just better suited for the job. I mean, maybe sometimes somebody with your body size may have been better suited, would have been somebody good for the job because maybe you could reach. Maybe if they would have found somebody who was in school for, and also was, maybe a basketball player or something and working off season, maybe that person would have been good for the job too if they were a woman. You don't know. While so many jobs the men are just suited require more physical labor, more risk of bodily harm, generally more necessary for the bare minimum functioning of society infrastructure, they're going to, can you guess it, be paid more. But that's the thing, is that we've shunted women away from these jobs. We've discouraged women away from these jobs. We don't know if we would have just said, look, do what you would like to do and go from there. And most of the problems with the pay inequity is on the job by job by job. It's not necessarily trying to compare somebody who's working as a software developer versus somebody working catching Opelia crabs off of the coast of Alaska versus somebody who's working as a waitress or as a server waiting tables. Like, we're not trying to compare those three positions and trying to say that all of them should have equality in pay. Like, no, they're three different positions doing three different types of work. But there's pay inequities in software development positions, and there's been a clear history of women who have been driven away from going into STEM careers, and now that's trying to be rectified because there are programs that are trying to make sure that women who are interested in STEM jobs can go after those STEM jobs. With the opilio crab fishermen, if there are, I don't know what the interest there would be, but if there are people who are interested in going out and doing those jobs, they should be able to do those. If they're physically capable of doing those jobs, it shouldn't matter what gender they are. They should be able to do them. Doesn't matter, if they can do the work, they can do the work. And for servers, well, servers are servers. And again, a server working at like a Applebee's is going to probably make less than it's going to definitely make less than a server working at a 5-star or a 3-star Michelin restaurant or whatever. So again, a harder job is going to make more money, but we shouldn't be pushing people away from harder jobs simply because of their gender. We should be welcoming anybody to do a job as long as they're capable of doing it. And nothing specifically about somebody's gender can tell you that they can't do the job. Only an individual can determine whether or not they can do the job or not. And that's the point. So you say, please do better than this. Well, I'm suggesting that I did do better than this, that you're not listening to my point. So here's my counterpoint. You're more than welcome to respond, and I'll probably respond again.